Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our MISAT Bulletin, and we shall start with our headlines. Iraqi forces assault two villages south of Mosul. Brazilian soccer team's plane crashes in Colombia, 76 dead. Moving on to our details, starting with the fighting in Iraq. Iraqi forces on Tuesday assaulted villages far south of Mosul in the Nineveh province, attempting to clear rural areas of Islamic State fighters who stayed behind to hinder their advance. Several hundred fighters from the army, state-sanctioned Shiite militias, and paramilitary federal police massed in the nearby village of Haj Ali, firing mortars at IS positions in the villages of Shayala Abali and Shayala Ayama. Meanwhile, inside Mosul on Tuesday, special forces fighting in the eastern side of the city conducted house-to-house searches in a contested neighborhood, looking for car bombs, explosive devices, and snipers who have been shooting at troops from roofs. Onto the Syrian profile, renewed airstrikes killed at least 10 civilians on Tuesday in Syria's besieged eastern part of Aleppo as they were fleeing government advances in the opposition-held enclave. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said new airstrikes left at least 10 civilians killed, while a rescue group in eastern Aleppo put the figure at 25. In addition, the Syrian Civil Defense said the airstrikes hit a group of civilians fleeing to Bab al-Nayrab district from government advances in the north. From another aspect, the Russian Ministry of Defense said on Tuesday that half of eastern Aleppo has been liberated, estimating that 80,000 people living there were freed. On to Ankara, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has urged Muslims to defend the Palestinian cause. The president of Turkey said on Tuesday it is the common duty of all Muslims to embrace the Palestinian cause and protect Jerusalem, and that safeguarding the Al-Aqsa Mosque should not be left to children armed with nothing but stones. Speaking at a parliamentary symposium on Jerusalem in Istanbul, the Turkish leader also criticized an Israeli proposal to make mosques reduce the volume of loudspeakers, issuing the call to prayer. It's worth mentioning that these comments come as Israel and Turkey prepare to exchange ambassadors as part of a reconciliation deal. Onto the clashes in New Delhi, rebels fighting against Indian rule in the disputed Himalayan region of Kashmir stormed an Indian military base on Tuesday morning, triggering a fierce gun battle that left 3 army soldiers and a militant dead. At the same time, in another part of Kashmir, Indian border forces came across 3 suspected militants who had allegedly crossed the border from Pakistan into India, touching off another exchange of fire in which all 3 were killed, according to paramilitary officials. The renewed violence followed a 5-day lull in fighting between Indian and Pakistani troops. On the other side of the world, a chartered plane with the Brazilian First Division soccer team crashed near Medellin while on its way to the finals of a regional tournament, killing 76 people while 5 others survived. The British Aerospace 146 short-haul plane, operated by a charter airline named Lamia and carrying 72 passengers and 9 crew members, declared an emergency at 10 p.m. Monday because of an electrical failure, according to aviation authorities. The aircraft, which had departed from Santa Cruz, Bolivia, was transporting the Chapecoense soccer team to Medellin's Jose Maria Cordova Airport. Moreover, Brazil, as well as South America's Soccer Federation, extended its condolences to the entire Chapecoense community. In Warsaw, foreign ministers from Central and Southeastern Europe and the European Union's top diplomat discussed on Tuesday challenges to the region's security and the need for close cooperation with and within the European Union to counter various threats. The meeting began with a debate on regional security among ministers of the so-called Visegrad Group that also includes the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. They were later joined by ministers from Eastern Balkan nations aspiring to join the EU and ministers from 6 EU nations in the region. They discussed migration, organized crime, radicalization, terrorism, and hybrid threats, as well as regional cooperation and good neighborly relations. On another side, South Korean President Park Geun-hye said on Tuesday that she will resign if Parliament arranges the technical details. Park, who did not take questions from reporters after her live address to the nation, said she will leave the matters about my fate, including the shortening of my presidential term, to be decided by the National Assembly. Park continued to deny accusations by prosecutors that she colluded in the criminal activities of her longtime friend Choi Soon-sil. From another aspect, Park's speech came as opposition parties were closing in on an impeachment motion. Meanwhile, thousands of people have rallied in Seoul each Saturday to demand her ouster. Meanwhile, Thailand's parliament on Tuesday named Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn as the new king, completing a formal step for the heir to take the throne following the death of his father last month. The cabinet, following a 1924 law on succession, submitted Vajiralongkorn's name to the National Assembly after a brief meeting where members formally acknowledged him as a new monarch. National Assembly President said he would invite Vajiralongkorn to take the throne. A source mentioning that late King Bhumibol Adulyadej, who took the throne in 1946, died on October 13th at age 88 of medical complications stemming from a wild thunderstorm that struck Melbourne on November 21st, according to Health Department officials. They said another patient remained in intensive care while another 6 were in hospitals with less serious respiratory and related conditions. Last week's storm caused rain's sudden ryegrass pollen grains to explode and disperse over the city, with tiny pollen particles penetrating deep into lungs. And finally, economic news. Global stock markets were mixed on Tuesday as uneasy investors looked ahead to an OPEC meeting and Italy's constitutional referendum. London's FTSE 100 index shed 0.4% to 6,770.16 in early trading, while France CAC 40 advanced 0.8% to 4,546.45. Germany's DAX added 0.2% to 10,605.82. On Wall Street, futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Standard & Poor 500 Index both rose 0.2%. This comes as the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries meets on Wednesday to discuss output cuts to boost prices. Meanwhile, Italians vote on constitutional changes on December 4th that would limit the power of the upper house. And before ending our news, let's take another look at the most important headlines for today. Iraqi forces assault 2 villages south of Mosul. Brazilian soccer team's plane crashes in Colombia, leaving 76 dead. And we reach the end of our MESAT bulletin for today. Thank you for joining us and see you tomorrow in a new bulletin.